The most important thing about my life is how to get along with people. Being a foreigner working in America, you have to prove yourself more. For architect, in America, they got a lot of lawsuits. Unless you own your own firm and work for a big project, you will make a lot of money. When you try to go to somebody and tell them you can spend $1 million with me and I will do your house, and then look at you and say, you're only 18 years old, how would you do my house? I was not the top student in my class. In real life, it's different. You have to be able to present yourself. I think that's the most important thing about school.
If you were to give one piece of advice to the new generation, what would it be? Welcome back to the Mindset of Success podcast. We are very excited to introduce our guest today, Khun Tui Pranich. Thank you very much for giving up your time here today. Khun Tui here is the founder of Tui Pranich Design, one of the leading design companies in the United States. He has over 30 years of experience in design and has been published in a book of the top 100 interiors around the world. Now, before we start talking about your entrepreneurial life, I've heard that you've studied at Cornell University. Could you share your experience back then? What did the university offer you that was essential for your success today?
Okay, I went to Cornell University, studied architecture, and it's a 5-year program. And what the school taught me is the technical things. It didn't really teach me the design as much as experience, but at the same time, the architecture is a great background for my interior design career. And I think it taught me different things about scale, about lighting, proportion, which is the most important thing. For interior designer to do big project, you need to understand that, because you need to deal with the contractor, you need to deal with architect, you also deal with landscape designer. So you have to have knowledge of all those fields to be able to do a bigger project.
Would you mind explaining to our viewers what inspired you to establish Tui Pranich Design? What were your objectives and vision in founding this company?
Well, it's happened by accident, because I was working after graduating from Cornell. I was working for an interior design firm for 2 years, but the 4th year I got offered to work for an architecture firm, which my degree is in architecture. So I want to kind of experience whether I like the interior design profession or I like the architecture profession. So I went to work for the architecture firm for a year. And after a year, I found out that I like interior design better for several reasons. One reason is for architect. In America, they got a lot of lawsuit, because if you build a building over 10 years and somebody fall down, they will sue you because your building wasn't built right. Or if the balcony is cracking, they will sue you anyway because they feel that the construction wasn't right. So I feel that for architect, unless you own your own firm and work for a big project, you will make a lot of money. In the same time, interior design, I think for a shortened period of time and with less liability, you'll be able to make a lot more money. So after working for architecture firm for a year, I decided I want to go back to interior design. So at that time, I was 25 years old, and I decided, it was the right time for me to try out working for myself without having to work for somebody else. Because at that age, you have nothing to lose. When you're 25, you just have to invest your time into working. And so I thought, I really don't have anything to lose, why don't I just try it? So it just happened by accident.
So you graduated as an architect, but then worked as an interior designer.
Yeah, I always liked interior design, but as I told you, I came from a Chinese background family. And my father always thought that interior design is not profession. Architect is more professional, like being a lawyer, being a doctor is more professional than being interior designer. So my father pushed me to go to architecture school as opposed to go to interior design school, which now I thank him every day because he gave me a good, solid background for working with different projects.
As someone who has built a successful company from the ground up, what do you think were the key elements that made your business so successful in such a competitive industry?
Well, the most important thing is you have to do what you like. And if you do something that you like, the day and the work become much easier and become more enjoyable. So I think that's the first thing is when you want to decide what to do, you have to pick what you like. Once you pick what you like, you have to put a lot of time and a lot of working hours into it. So I think the most important thing about starting a company for any profession is to find out what profession you like, and then once you find out what you like, then try to do the best you can in that field.
Why did you choose to work in the US and not other countries like Thailand?
Well, I work in the US because I went study in the state, and it's all just happened after I graduated from Cornell. I got offered a job, and then from one job became the next job, and then I opened up my own company. And I think for me, it is very important to try to find work for yourself as opposed to have connection. Because I think once you start doing the thing you like and doing for yourself, I want to kind of prove to myself that I can do it, not to my parents' connection and so far and so forth. So I think that's why I continue working in the state. And once you start working in a project, it just kind of continue. For me to move back to Thailand, it would step backward, to trying to find a firm or trying to find connection or trying to find people I work for.
Starting your own business must have been a big leap. What were some of the biggest setbacks you encountered when starting out in this industry, and how did you overcome them?
Well, first of all, being a foreigner working in America, you have to prove yourself more, to prove to them that you can do it. Especially in my field as interior designer, there's not that many successful Asian interior designer at that time. So I have to work twice as hard as the American to prove that I can do it. Secondly, I always look younger than my age. So that's kind of minus when you're in the profession. When you try to go to somebody and tell them, I can do your house for, you can spend $1 million with me and I will do your house, and then look at you and say, wow, you're only 18 years old. How would you do my house? So I think those factors are the things that I have to work through, before the company became successful.
I find it very interesting how you mentioned you closed your business for retirement.
Well, at certain stage in your life, when you have worked hard, I think you need time to enjoy it. When you have your own company, you work almost 7 days a week, and you really don't have time to enjoy life. I think at certain point in your life, it's also important that you spend time enjoying your life. And then at the same time, even now, I'm not working, I'm still doing my own homes or working on my own projects. So I think it's keep going. It's better not to stop completely, but it's better to kind of step back and say, I have worked hard enough, I have done enough, I have made my own name, so now I can relax and enjoy my life.
And what do you plan to invest in next? Will your focus remain within the design industry, or are you planning to enter a different field?
Well, design in general is all the same. Whether fashion design, graphic design, automobile industrial design, advertisement, to me it's all the same thing. It's all about creating. I think, if you're a good designer, and for me, you need to learn every day. So I think learning, experiencing new things every day, keep your life more meaningful. So I think as a designer, I still look at everything every day. Sometimes I go to my friend's house, they ask me to, is this good? I look at some people plan, I give them some advice. So you continue working without stopping, because it's a learning experience.
I'm sure our viewers here would want to hear more about your entrepreneurial path. So, how important do you think is networking and building relationships?
I think networking is the most important thing. Not so much for me, not so much connection. I think your reputation is the most important thing in any field. Once you start working and start getting reputation, I think things will come to you easier. Like all my job, I start off with one job, and from one job, I get offered the other job. And for other job, their friends recommended me, or the owner recommended me. So I always continue working without having any job. So I think the most important thing is connection. And I think one thing I want to mention about schooling is, I was not the top student in my class, okay? But there's a difference, because most of my classmates who is top, grade A, would normally work for somebody else, But grade B, which is I am, is more likely to be entrepreneurial and have their own firm. I think the most important thing about my life is how to get along with people. I think once you have to understand one thing. Once you're in school, if you study with the top, like Cornell is one of the top Ivy League school, and most people, who's at the top spend a lot of time studying without having any communication with other students. I think in real life it's different. You have to be able to present yourself. You have to be able to get along with other people. I think that's the most important thing about school as well that I want to mention.
Thank you for sharing your wonderful experience. Now, let's move on to our last set of questions. As the world becomes more technologically advanced, digital tools like artificial intelligence and virtual reality has impacted many jobs and businesses. What mindset do you think young entrepreneurs need today in order to succeed in a constantly changing business landscape?
I think with the new technology and the change of the world, I think it's much more advantage now, and you try to use it. During my time, there's not a lot of technology, and nowadays you can do 3-dimension, you can see things, in an instant. I think that's very important. I think people should really learn how to use that. It's much more advantage. But at the same time, your client is much more knowledgeable than before. So it is much more difficult to deal with clients because they think they know the best. So you have to be able to convey to them that your idea is good. So it's kind of difficult to say. I think overall it is much better and much easier and much more exciting for the new generation.
Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of education and preparation?
Well, I think looking back, I would have taken business class and psychology if I would have a chance. Because when you own your own business, like as a designer, I spend maybe 30 to 40% of myself designing. The rest of the time, I'm dealing with clients, which I think psychology is very good when you deal with other people to learn about how they're thinking and how you can approach them. At the same time, I think business is very good because when you have your own business, you must know about business, how to run business. So I think those two fields are very important to know or to learn in any profession or any field.
Before we end this interview, I have to ask you our last question. It's a question we ask all of our guests. If you were to give one piece of advice to the new generation, what would it be?
Okay, if I have to give one piece of advice to new generation, the first thing is whatever career or profession you pick, you have to like it. You have to also believe in yourself, not other people pushing you or telling you. Because at the end of the day, you have to do that profession. And secondly, you have to try very hard, especially if you own your company. You have to work twice as hard as other people. And also you have to be more advanced and look at new technology and look at different design to incorporate in design. For me, in design, I almost have to be ahead of everybody else. I don't follow the trend or the rule. I kind of think to myself or design to myself, what is the next trend or what is the next rule? So you always have to kind of searching and learning, about that profession. So I think it's important that you have to try very hard, work very hard, and once you become successful, you would have a gratitude and happiness about what you're doing. So
That's a really good advice. I've learned a lot from you today, and I'm sure everyone here also has. It's been an honor to have you here today. This has definitely been an invaluable guide for our viewers, especially those who are planning to enter entrepreneurship or enter the business field. Thank you very much.
it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.